This presentation is a multimodal presentation of the 21st Century Literacies. 21st Century Literacies impacts adolescents in their social worlds. Once, most of history, the word literate meant to be familiar with literature. Only since the late 19th century has it also come to refer to the abilities to read and write text. It's only since the mid-20th century scholars have devoted considerable attention to defining literacy, and their work has had direct implications for approaches to practice and policy. Theories of literacy have evolved from those focused solely on changes in individuals to more complex views encompassing the broader social context, this involving the literate environment and the literate society, that encourage and enable literacy activities and practices to occur. So you ask, what is literacy now? Literacy has evolved from being singular, as in literacy, to literacies, and now multiliteracies. With new techno-literate practices, students become multimodal. New social, textual, and techno-literate practices have enabled students to become multimodal designers of text as they message, blog, Flickr, Facebook, podcast, and Twitter their way into their future lives. Edwards Groves writes that these social and textual practices also demonstrate both creativity and technical complexity, which force traditional understandings of meaning-making and communication to be revisited for their validity and their relevance in today's classrooms. What we have seen is that there has been some massive changes in the way we see literacies. For example, we used to use pen and paper, books, blackboards and mail. Now we're bombarded with portable devices, computers, interactive devices and social media. Let's look at it from another perspective, my perspective. My great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother would not have even known about literacies. My grandmother Nancy went to school in the 1920s. She would have used a pen, paper, and teachers would have explained things on a blackboard. My mother Barbara went to school in the 1950s. She would have used pens, paper, a blackboard, but she would have also experienced projectors, as seen in the photograph. And then there is me, and I went to school in the 1980s, and we saw the introduction of computers into the classrooms, probably late 80s because I came from a country town. In the last 29 years since I went to school and now my daughter sits in a classroom, there has been massive changes where students have social media. They've got interactive whiteboards, massive flat screen televisions, and have access to portable devices like mobile phones and iPads. So school has changed. In 1900, schooling would have been so different to what it is in 2018. So let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. Social change and adolescence equals change. No one who tried to stop a revolution succeeded. There was no stopping the technological revolution. Global economies, new technologies, and exponential growth in information are transforming our society, and our teaching methods need to reciprocate this. I really like how Cope and Calantzis say it. They say, after all, some significant degree of change is what we would expect when we hold to a theory of representation in which transformation is fundamental and stability in the form of meaning is almost invariably an illusion. Okay, so we've seen a lot about how technology has changed schooling and literature. But we haven't really looked at what it's doing to teenagers' identity. This must impact on adolescent social world. Cope and Calantzis suggest that technology represents a large part of a teenager's identity. Smolin and Lawless suggest that technologies are reshaping how students access information, communicate and learn within and outside of classrooms. Schools need to capitalise on students' natural inclinations as learners. Let's look at multimodality, which describes communication practices including textual, oral, linguistic, spatial, visual resources. Multimodal literacy refers to the meaning making that occurs through reading, viewing, understanding, responding to, and producing and interacting with multimedia and digital texts. So, society and technology has changed, which means literacy has changed. Technology has increased the intensity and complexity of literature environments. These literacies are multiple, dynamic, and malleable. As in the past, literacies are inextricably linked with particular histories, life possibilities, and social trajectories of individuals and groups. And one of these groups is most definitely adolescents in their social worlds. So 21st century literacies can be incorporated into teaching and learning practices across our school by developing proficiency and fluency with the tools of technology, and by building intentional cross-cultural connections and relationships with others, so to pose and solve problems collaboratively and strengthen independent thought. By designing and sharing information for global communities to meet for a variety of purposes. By managing, analysing and synthesising multiple streams of simultaneous information. By creating, critiquing, analysing and evaluating multimedia texts. And finally, and as importantly, attend to the ethical responsibilities required by these complex environments. Thanks for listening, and let's go out and embrace change and make a difference in education.